In the last video I got this feature wall done. Now I've got to the point in this nursery project where I need to get a few of the little jobs done before I can move on to the next stage. The next main stage is to get the underfloor heating and the flooring down, because then I can do the skirting boards and we can go from there. So in this video I'm going to be getting rid of this cupboard because we're going to do a bit of a built-in wardrobe at full height. I'm going to lay the cable ready for doing the underfloor heating. I'm going to remove the blind from the window, give that window a good wash because it's currently covered in dust and a few black marks, which I'm not sure if they're mould or not, but we'll mould treat them just in case. This room was obviously quite cold and not necessarily heated all the time, so it could well be a little bit of mould. So I'm just going to wipe all the walls down because they're all pretty dusty and I don't really want to paint on top of the dust like that. So I'll wipe all the walls down, the doors, anything that's covered in dust basically. I've thoroughly vacuumed the floor, so that's not too bad now. So I'll get all the walls wiped down and then in the next video we'll be ready to start decorating. So first things first is this cupboard is getting removed. Now this piece of CLS is just currently propped there anyway, so that could obviously get moved out of the way. That obviously isn't going to get reused. This will just lift off. That I'll probably reuse in the built-in wardrobe for a shelf, or maybe the base. Same with this door. This can obviously get repurposed into another shelf. And then I just need to take these bits of CLS off because this isn't obviously going to be the top anymore. So these are in with hammer fixings, but with hammer fixings you can unscrew them. And then they just pull off the wall, easy as that. It's one of the benefits of using hammer fixings because they're dead quick and easy to fit, but you can also remove them quite easily as well. So that's all of that cupboard removed, and I've taken the hammer fixings out. If you don't know what a hammer fixing is, you basically drill a hole through the piece of timber you're attaching to the wall and then the plug goes through, and then one of these, they're a bit like screws but they've got like a barbed piece on, goes through, you hammer it in, and then that's the fix and attach. But they've also got screw heads on the end so they can be unscrewed as well. Very handy fixings and really nice and strong. So the reason we've removed this cupboard is because it was a bit of an afterthought when this room got done. This room was done and then things were just stored in this corner, and rather than just having stuff piled in this corner I thought we'll put a door on here, just neaten things up a little bit. So I used some leftover MDF and stuff that I had from doing the house in general, but it wasn't quite wide enough to span this full gap. So what I did originally was I just had this bit of CLS attached to the wall and I used that as a door stop and obviously to hide the gap along there. Obviously that is a bit of a bodge, to be honest, and now this room is going to be nice and not just used as the dog's bedroom and sort of storage. We want it to be nice and not bodged, so we decided I would redo that door. And with us redoing that door anyway, obviously it only came up to here originally because I built it to fit what was in this cupboard. It had like a tall bag in here that sort of store tripods and that sort of stuff, lighting for video gear. So rather than having it this height again and having this space wasted or like shelves up here that aren't really accessible, I thought why not build a full height wardrobe and do like a built-in wardrobe here with a full height door that'll go across and obviously meet the chimney breast this time rather than having obviously the gap in here. So I'm going to do that in one of the next videos. But obviously there's a few holes to fill before we can decorate. Now I'll be decorating in here, doing the walls, the architraves, the radiator cover in the next video. So I'm gonna just fill these holes in this one later in the video, just so that obviously we're ready to paint. Now I'm not sure what colour I'm gonna paint inside of here. I might repaint this wall white and this wall white now that we're obviously putting the wardrobe in here. This obviously would have been just exposed wall rather than inside the cupboard, so that was obviously to match in with the feature wall. But what I might do is leave this side of the feature wall black and then paint the inside of the cupboard in white, and then I can just paint this whole wall, this wall, and leave this so that there's not an awkward like transition between the white and the black on this side. I'll just do it in this corner. So we'll do that after. I'll get these holes filled just with some of the easy fill, and that leads us on to the next job of getting this window sorted, because it's an absolute state. So you can see the absolute state of this window. Thankfully it's tiled, so it comes up nice and easy. Just might have to scrub the grout a little bit if that's too bad. Now, you can just about see these black marks. And like I mentioned, I'm not actually sure whether they're mould or not, but rather than potentially having mould in here, I thought I would just use some of this mould remover. So I'm just going to spray a little bit of that on. Just open the window for some ventilation. And I think this just needs about 10 minutes, this one. So I'm going to leave that to do its thing, and I'm going to take this blind down because that's not getting reused. That's just green blind that obviously matched the colour scheme before, but now the green walls are going, we're going to replace that blind with probably just a grey one. So we'll remove that. I'm going to leave those fixings in because we will most likely be using the same sort of blind anyway, so we can obviously just reuse that. And then I'm just going to give the windowsill and the window a good clean because it's filthy. And at the same time, I'm just going to spray some of this on the door as well. We'll be doing the door next. Then I've just got a few microfiber cloths, a couple of clean ones, a couple of dirty ones. So I'm just going to get rid of the main dirt on here with this dirty one. So I'm just going to clean this mould cleaner off. I think it needs half an hour to work. So I'm just going to finish cleaning this and then I'll put more of the mould stuff on. And if it doesn't come up nice, I'll just cut that silicone out and re-silicone it if needed. Not the end of the world. Whilst we're on with all the other bits. Right, so that's all clean, so I'm just going to put that mould stuff back on. And leave that for about half an hour. And if that doesn't work, I'm just going to get rid of that silicone because the last thing we want in here is mould. So now I've done that, I'm just going to wipe this door that I sprayed down. This is getting replaced anyway. But I don't want, obviously, this room being all dusty and horrible when the floor goes down and making everything dirty. Right, so that's that door clean and the architrave clean. So the only thing left to clean down now is the walls, but before I clean the walls, I'm going to make a little bit more dust. So So I think I've mentioned already that we're putting underfloor heating down in here. Now, to do that, we obviously need to wire it in because it's the electric underfloor heating rather than the pipes. So to do that, I'm going to be putting a fused spur switch in the boiler cupboard and obviously marking it up for the underfloor heating in here, just so that it can be isolated if it ever needs to be isolated, and the heating will then be spurred off of the sockets up here. So what I'm going to do now is run the cable. There's like a cavity under the wall here where the plasterboard is. So I'm going to run the cable along this cavity, and then it's going to go through this wall into the boiler cupboard, which is behind this wall here. This is just plasterboard, so we can obviously drill straight through there. And then I'm going to feed the wire up here, and then the thermostat is going to be mounted behind the door here somewhere. So obviously the cable will come through this wall into the thermostat on the wall, and on the other side of this wall in the boiler cupboard we'll put the switch so it can be isolated. And then the cables will run down here. They'll go across to that corner where they'll spur from that socket, and then the underfloor heating will go along here, probably diagonally, and then we will obviously run the underfloor heating cable into there to run up to connect to the thermostat. And there's like a sensor that runs from the thermostat to sense the floor temperature. So I'm going to obviously be drilling this. So I'll drill this now and I'll run these cables, and then once I've done that I can wipe all these walls down, and then we're ready for the next video for the painting. That's the hole we've drilled in the boiler cupboard. So I'll thread the cable through there, and then the other wiring is going to be done in there and then threaded down to that hole. That's that all wired up then and working. It's obviously not connected to the underfloor heating, which is here, which I'm probably going to fit on Monday once we've decorated in here over the weekend. So next up there's just those few holes to fill, and then I just need to wipe the walls down and clear out in here, because from doing this I've obviously made a bit of a mess in here. So I'll clear everything out and then fill those holes, wipe the walls down, and then we're good to decorate in the morning. Next up, fill in these holes. So I've pre-filled them and then I'm just skimming over the top of them. They're only in the inside of the cupboard, so don't have to be perfect. Then when they're dry, I'll just give them a quick rub down. Perfect. Well, good enough for inside of a cupboard. That's now everything sorted, ready for painting, other than obviously cleaning these walls down. You might be able to see a bit better if I wipe that wall down. You can see how dusty they are. So I've just put the attachment onto the shop vac, and I'm just going to vac the walls down to get the main dust off, and then just with a cleaning cloth I'm just going to wipe over and make sure there's nothing left on there. So that's all the walls wiped down. They weren't too bad once they were back, but you can see how much came off on the cloth. Now you definitely don't want to be mixing that dust with white paint because it's going to make a nice horrible brown colour on the wall. So yeah, that's us all prepped. I've obviously got that cable in, got that thermostat wired up, so that's all ready for the underfloor heating, hopefully on Monday, and then we can get the flooring down. And next up now is going to be getting these walls painted. So I'm going to leave this video there. We'll be painting in the next one, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that one, and I'll see you in the next one.